Hi all, I'm Stephanie. I sometimes wonder what it'd be like to live on my own and breathe freedom full throttle. I just want to be free. And it's all about my mom suffocating me with her love. My dad died when I was little. It was just me and my mom. My mom has no one but me. The hardest part was when I was in school. She forbade me to go out with my friends, to go hiking with my classmates. And in general, my mother believed that I always had to be near her or wait for her at home. Later, when I started to grow up, my mother started to ask me to be her friend. For me, of course, it was a shock, but eventually I got used to it. I even shared everything with her. She knew all my friends by name. Now, my mom's always trying to get into all my stuff. It's like she and I are best friends, but at other times, she's just my mom, which makes me feel some kind of inner conflict. I just can't understand her. Mom, Jess invited me to her birthday party. There's a party at her house tonight. Yes, of course. Just don't forget to be home by 11. Yeah, of course. I remember. And if you meet a boy, make sure to tell me about it. I used to have relationships with boys, but they were all so insignificant. My mom just smothered me with her control. My boyfriends had to send me away from my mom to go out and go on dates. Just so you know what I'm talking about. The party was in full swing, and there were a lot of people. I didn't know it was going to be like this. It was a great party. That's where I met Drake. He was a student and was studying to be a psychologist. I had never felt so interested in a boy before. I liked him. Our communication started so well that we even exchanged phone numbers. Then my cell phone rang. Yes, of course. Okay, I'll be right there. Don't worry, I'm on my way. Drake looked at me with surprise. Stephanie, are you leaving already? Yes, I have to go home right away. Mom's blood pressure is up. Oh, that's serious. I understand, but I'd like to talk to you some more. I really like you. Oh, I'm sorry, but we can call sometime and make an appointment. Why don't I give you a ride? My car's parked nearby. I don't know. It's a little awkward for me. Come on, it'll be a pleasure, especially since I want to. Drake and I walked toward his car. It was this awesome new black foreign car, leather interior and everything. He, like a true gentleman, opened the door for me. We drove toward my house, and on the way, we got to talking and learned a lot about each other. And before I knew it, we were at my house. Thanks for the ride. It was nice to meet you. Me too. I hope our deal still stands. Can we meet this Friday? Yes, of course. I was so excited to get home. I didn't even notice the curtain on the kitchen window move. Mom had been peeking and waiting for me the whole time. I walked in and saw Mom on the couch in the hall. For some reason, I didn't want to tell Mom about Drake. It seemed strange to me that Mom didn't look sick at all. Her complexion was normal, and her favorite talk show was on TV. She started the conversation by asking me how the party had gone and what interesting things had happened. Reluctantly, I told her about the large group of people invited, and, of course, about Drake. After a while, when my relationship with Drake began, I noticed something strange. My mom started treating my boyfriend weirdly. Sometimes she'd be nice and friendly with him, and sometimes she wouldn't even let me see him. At such moments, when I insisted that I'd go out, she began to manipulate me again, saying she didn't feel well and couldn't cope without me. Next, she started to overreact. I tried to get out of control, but every time I talked to her, she would start grabbing her heart or her head. I had to call an ambulance and sit by her bedside for days at a time. Drake also began to notice that I was choking under my mom's control, because on those rare days off, she tried to spend all her time with me. It felt good, like we were close, but as soon as I went to my friend's or boyfriend's house, she changed and turned into a fury. She'd call me every half hour and make up all kinds of reasons for me to get home faster. Then one day, I rebelled. I left for a whole night, but I warned my mother about it beforehand. And again, close to nightfall, she started calling and demanding that I come home, since she wasn't feeling well. After I refused, She took offense and wouldn't talk to me for a whole week. Mom, why are you acting like this? I'm old enough for you to not control me. I always worry, and I'm only doing it for your good. I'm sick of it. How much longer can you do this? I can never get on with my life this way. Stop acting like this. After this conversation, our relationship became worse than ever. My mom started doing everything she could to spite me and trying to completely shield me from the world outside and my friends, but especially from Drake. I wanted to go to university and study in another city. She wouldn't let me do that either, and she deliberately made me fail the test. My friends told me that she was selfish and just manipulated me, but I couldn't do anything about it. I felt responsible and understood that I was the only one she had. Every day I noticed Drake began to stress her out, but we loved each other, and our relationship was developing rapidly. It was clear that we were planning a future together. That's when my mom got all worked up. She started turning me against him, talking rudely to him and always trying to break us up. When I'd go out with my friends, she'd ask him to watch me. She said my surroundings were awful and my friends were just vulgar girls. He thought my mother was supportive of our relationship and wished us well, so he did what she said. When I found myself being followed, I got really angry. Derek, I didn't expect this from you. Why? Your mom said you needed to be watched. She thinks your girlfriends are bad news. You know my mom very well yourself. She just wants me to always be with her. Don't be silly. She supports my relationship with you, and you don't have any good friends. Oh my God, you're just like her. I don't want to see you anymore. It's enough to have my mom on my back all the time. After this conflict, we broke up, and I felt very bad about it. I stopped communicating with my friends and my mother. I stayed in my room all the time and never went anywhere. The only thing that occurred to me was to go to work in another city. I took a leave of absence, bought plane tickets, and flew away from home and my mother, and I began to think about my life and realized that my mother was just afraid to be alone, afraid of being abandoned. But my resentment was really strong. I didn't want to go back to the prison I'd been living in all those years. My mother called me every day, crying and begging me to come back, but I felt I wasn't ready. I needed time to separate myself from my mother and start living my own life. So I got a job in the new city, but the pain of Derek's betrayal and my mother's attempt at control wouldn't let me go. Even though I was so far away from them, it wasn't getting any easier. One day, I was walking home and a familiar black car pulled up beside me. Derek got out. Stephanie, can we talk now? There's nothing to talk about. I realized my mistake. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have gone along with your mother. And how long ago did you realize that? Or maybe it's my mom who's putting you up to this again. Derek kind of hesitated, and that was enough. I figured it out. Out of anger, I got in my car and drove with him to our town. On the way, Derek told me that my mom was very worried and very sick. She missed me and was very lonely. As someone who studies psychology, he explained to me that all the recent events have been good for me and my mother, but it was time to talk it out and come home. As I drove up to our house, I saw that no lights were on anywhere. I carefully entered. Mom was lying on her couch, staring blankly at the TV. For the first time, I saw how small and fragile she was. I'd missed her so much. Mom, I'm home. Oh my God, Stephanie! She gave me a big hug. I'm so happy, thank you, Derek. I wish I could talk to you. Mom, I love you, but I'm all grown up. I'm not a little girl anymore. I know, honey, but you're still a child to me. Even so, you have to let me be myself and live my own life, not yours. I know, darling. She began to cry. But I'll never leave you. You're my mother. We're not leaving you. I love Stephanie, and I want to ask you to marry me. This came as such a surprise to me that I was speechless, and my mom had this smile on her face that made me realize now everything would change. During my absence, those two had become friends, and Derek helped me realize that we were separate individuals, But that didn't stop us from loving and understanding each other, which made us all the more close. My mom realized that for me to love her and be there for her, she needed to let go of control and I'd stay around, because that's what I wanted, for me. I mean, she is my mom,